The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Ho stood at his workstation, checking supplies and making notes on his tablet. It was boring work, but he did not mind. After years as a combat medic on the front lines of 3 different conflicts, boring was good. Boring meant nobody was dying. The human diplomatic vessel Horizon's Edge had been stationed at the border of space for 6 months now. Their mission was simple: watch, wait, and try not to start a war with the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy. Ho was not a diplomat. He was just a healer who happened to be good at staying calm when everything went wrong. Ambassador had requested him specifically for this mission. She said she wanted someone who could think clearly under pressure. Ho suspected she also wanted someone who would not cause problems. He had seen pictures of them, of course. Everyone had. They were tall, insect-like beings with hard shells and too many limbs. Their empire controlled 40 star systems. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire. To them, humanity was nothing, just another primitive species crawling out of its birth world. The relationship between humans and them was not friendly, but it was not hostile either. They tolerated each other. They allowed human ships to pass through their territory, and humans stayed out of their way. It was an arrangement built on mutual avoidance rather than trust. Ho finished his inventory and stretched his arms. His back ached from hunching over the workstation. He was getting old for this kind of work. 36 years felt like 60 when you carried the memories he did. The door to the medical bay slid open. Dong walked in, his face serious. Dong was the ship's security chief, a large man with careful eyes who trusted no one and nothing. He and Ho had become friends over the long months of waiting. "You need to come to the bridge," Dong said. "Now." Ho did not ask questions. He followed. The bridge was crowded when they arrived. Every senior officer on the ship stood around the main, staring at something outside. Ho pushed through until he could see. A warship hung in space beside them. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Horizon's Edge. Its dark hull gleamed with strange lights that pulsed in patterns Ho could not understand. "It arrived 20 minutes ago," Ambassador said. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. Nothing surprised her, but Ho could see tension in her shoulders. No warning, no communication, it just appeared. "Are we in danger?" Ho asked. "I don't know yet." The communication panel beeped. A signal was coming from the ship. "Put it through," ordered. The flickered, a face appeared. It was the first voice of Queen herself. Ho recognized him from the briefing files. The first voice was the Queen's translator and closest advisor. He spoke for her when she did not wish to speak herself. Looked nervous. Ho had never seen a look nervous before. "Ambassador," said. His voice came through the translator as flat and mechanical, but something in his posture spoke of urgency. "I bring a message from Queen, ruler of the Empire, keeper of the eternal hive, mother of 10,000 generations." Straightened. "We are honored to receive any message from Her Majesty." "The Queen does not send a message. The Queen sends a summons." The bridge went silent. "A summons?" asked carefully. "For whom?" Turned his head. His compound eyes seemed to look directly at Ho. "The human healer, the one you call Ho. Queen demands his presence before her throne, immediately." Ho felt his stomach drop. Every person on the bridge turned to look at him. "Me," he said. "Why me?" "The Queen does not explain. The Queen commands." Stepped forward. "With respect," first voice, "we cannot simply hand over one of our crew members without understanding why. Surely the Queen can provide some explanation." "There is no explanation. There is only the summons." Paused. "You should understand, Ambassador. The Queen has ruled for 10,000 years. In all that time she has never summoned an outsider to her. Never. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. The human healer will come, or the Queen will consider it an insult to her throne." The threat was clear. An insult to the queen could mean war. Turned to Ho. Her eyes asked a question she could not speak out loud. Ho thought about it. He thought about the fragile peace between humans and the. He thought about what would happen if that peace broke. He thought about all the people who would die. "I'll go," he said. Ho Dong started. "If I refuse, what happens? We know what happens. I won't be the reason this goes wrong." Dong grabbed his arm. "Then I'm coming with you." Shook his head. "No, the healer comes alone. No guards, no weapons, no companions. This is the Queen's command." "That's not acceptable," Dong said. "It is not a matter of acceptable. It is the only option." Ho put his hand on Dong's shoulder. "It's okay, I'll be fine." "You don't know that." "No, but I know what happens if I don't go." An hour later, Ho stood in the docking bay, wearing simple clothes and carrying nothing but his identification. Came to see him off. So did Dong, who still looked like he wanted to fight someone. "Be careful," said. "Whatever they want, don't agree to anything without talking to me first. You're not a diplomat." "I know. And don't make them angry." "I'll try." The airlock opened. 2 soldiers waited on the other side. They towered over Ho, their shells dark and hard, their eyes watching him without expression. He stepped forward to meet them. The walk to the shuttle was long and silent. The soldiers did not speak to him. They did not even look at him. He was nothing to them, just cargo to be delivered. The shuttle was cold and strange. The seats were not made for human bodies. Ho sat awkwardly, trying to find a comfortable position while they ignored him completely. Appeared as the shuttle prepared to depart. He sat across from Ho, his movements careful and precise. "You are brave," said quietly, "or foolish, I cannot tell which." "Maybe both," Ho replied. The shuttle shuddered as it left the docking bay. Through a small window, Ho watched the horizon's edge grow smaller and smaller until it was just a point of light among the stars. Leaned closer, his voice dropped to almost a whisper. "You should know something, human. What I am about to tell you, I tell you because I believe you deserve to understand what you are walking into." Ho waited. The Queen has ruled for 10,000 years. She has met with kings and conquerors. She has watched empires rise and fall. In all that time, across all those meetings, she has never once summoned an outsider to her. Not once. Not ever. The shuttle entered hyperspace. The stars outside stretched into lines of light. Until now finished. Until you. Ho sat in the cold alien shuttle, surrounded by beings who saw him as less than nothing, traveling to a place no human had ever been. He did not know what waited for him. He did not know why the Queen had called for him. But he knew one thing. Whatever was about to happen, the galaxy would never be the same. The journey through hyperspace lasted 3 days. Ho spent most of that time alone in a small room they had given him. It was not a prison cell, but it felt like one. The walls were smooth and cold. The bed was too hard. The food they brought him was strange and tasteless. He tried to sleep, but his mind would not let him rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he wondered what was waiting for him. Why would the Queen of an empire want a simple medic? It made no sense. On the 3rd day, came to his room. "We arrive soon," the first voice said. "You will see the very few outsiders have ever seen it. You should feel honored." "I'll try to remember that," Ho said. The shuttle dropped out of hyperspace, and Ho went to the window to look. What he saw took his breath away. There was not like any planet he had ever seen. It was covered entirely in structures that seemed to grow from the surface like living things. Towers of dark shell material reached toward the sky. Bridges connected them in patterns that looked random but felt somehow perfect. Lights glowed everywhere, soft blues and greens that pulsed like heartbeats. The whole planet looked alive. "Beautiful," Ho whispered. "It is home," said. There was something in his voice that sounded almost like pride. The shuttle descended through the atmosphere. As they got closer, Ho could see more details. The structures were even more massive than he had thought. Each tower was the size of a mountain. The bridges between them could hold entire cities. And everywhere there were millions of them, maybe billions. They moved along the bridges and through the towers in perfect coordination, like blood cells flowing through veins. From above, it looked like a single living organism. The hive explained, "All are connected, we share thoughts, we share purpose. The queen is the center of that connection. She feels everything we feel, she knows everything we know." Ho tried to imagine what that would be like, to never be alone, to always feel the presence of millions of others in your mind. He could not decide if it sounded wonderful or terrifying. The shuttle landed on a platform near the largest tower. Soldiers were waiting. They surrounded Ho as he stepped out, not threatening but not friendly either. He was something strange to them, something they did not understand. Led the way through the tower. The inside was as impressive as the outside. The walls curved and flowed like frozen waves. The light came from everywhere and nowhere. The air smelled different here, sweet and sharp at the same time. As they walked, Ho noticed something. The they passed moved strangely. Their coordination was not perfect. Some of them stumbled. Some of them stopped in the middle of walking, standing still for long moments before continuing. He saw two collapse. Other came quickly to carry them away. "What's wrong with them?" Ho asked. Did not answer. They passed through more corridors, more chambers, more crowds of. The deeper they went, the more problems Ho saw. The coordination was breaking down. The perfect harmony he had seen from above was falling apart at the edges. Something was very wrong. Finally, they reached a door larger than any Ho had ever seen. It was at least 50 meters tall, made of the same dark shell material as everything else. Strange symbols were carved into its surface. "The throne room," said, "You will wait until you are called. When you enter, do not speak unless the queen speaks to you first. Do not approach unless you are told. Show respect." "I understand." The doors opened slowly. Ho walked in. The throne room was so big that he could barely see the walls. The ceiling disappeared into darkness high above. Thousands of stood in rows on either side of a long central path. They were completely still, completely silent. Their compound eyes all turned to watch him. At the far end of the room, on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself, sat Queen. She was enormous, 3 times the size of any Ho had seen. Her shell was darker than black with patterns that shifted and moved as she breathed. Her eyes held depths that no human eye could match. She was ancient. She was powerful. She was terrifying. But Ho also noticed something else. Her movements were slow, strained. She shifted on her throne as if it hurt to sit still. There were cracks in her shell that looked old and poorly healed. The queen was in pain. Ho walked down the central path. Every step echoed in the silence. He felt the weight of thousands of eyes on him. When he reached the end, he stopped and bowed his head. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the queen spoke. Her voice did not come through the air. It appeared directly in Ho's mind, cold and powerful and overwhelming. "Human." The single word pressed against his thoughts like a heavy weight. Ho fought to stay standing. "You are small," the queen continued. "Your species is young. You have accomplished nothing. You control nothing. In the history of this galaxy, you are less than nothing." Ho said nothing. He kept his eyes down, his posture humble. "Your kind spreads through space like an infection. You go where you are not wanted. You take what is not yours. You believe you are special, but you are only noise, only chaos." Still, Ho remained silent. He could feel anger behind the queen's words, but also something else, something that did not match the coldness of her voice. "Look at me, human." He raised his eyes to meet hers. The queen stared at him for a long time. Her massive head tilted slightly, as if she was studying something unexpected. "You are not afraid," she said. It was not a question. "I am afraid," Ho replied quietly. "But fear does not help anyone, so I choose not to let it control me." "Interesting." The queen raised one of her limbs. Every in the room suddenly turned and walked toward the doors. They moved in perfect silence, perfect coordination, until the throne room was empty except for Ho, the queen, and the doors closed behind them. Without the audience, something changed. The queen's posture shifted. The coldness in her mental voice faded. What remained was something Ho had not expected to hear from the ruler of an empire. Desperation. "Human," the queen said. "Ho, that is your name, yes." "Yes, your majesty. I have watched your species for many years. I have studied your history, your wars, your diseases, your struggles." She paused. "Your medicine." Ho waited. "You come from a harsh world, a world that tried to kill you every day. Predators, poisons, parasites, diseases that should have destroyed you 1,000 times, but you survived, more than survived. You learned to fight back. Your healers developed knowledge that no other species in this galaxy possesses." "I am honored that you think so highly of human medicine," Ho said carefully. "I do not think highly of anything human," the queen replied. "But I am not a fool. I recognize ability when I see it, even in primitive species." She leaned forward on her throne. Her eyes seemed to look straight through him. "I did not summon you here to threaten your kind. I did not summon you to make demands or to show my power. I summoned you, human healer, for one reason only." Her voice cracked. For just a moment the ancient, powerful queen sounded like something much simpler, much more vulnerable. "I summoned you to beg." Ho stared at her. Of all the things he had imagined, this was not one of them. "My son is dying," Queen said, "and you may be the only one in this galaxy who can save him." Ho stood in the empty throne room, trying to understand what he had just heard. The queen of the empire, ruler of 40 star systems, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, had just told him she was begging for his help. "Your son," he said slowly, "Prince. You know of him. I read the briefing files. He is your only heir." "He is more than my heir." The queen's voice in his mind carried weight that words alone could not express. "He is the only one who can inherit my connection to the hive. When I die, he must take my place. Without him, the hive will have no center, no guide. Billions of my people will lose their connection to each other. They will go mad. Our civilization will collapse." Ho thought about what he had seen outside. The stumbling, the coordination breaking down, the bodies being carried away. "The problems I saw," he said. "In the city, the who were collapsing, that is because of the prince. Yes, is connected to the hive even now. As he weakens, so does the connection. As he dies, our people die with him, not in body but in mind. They lose pieces of themselves. The longer this continues, the worse it becomes." "How long has he been sick?" 87 years. Ho blinked. 87 years. An entire human lifetime. The prince had been dying for longer than Ho had been alive. "What is wrong with him?" Stepped forward. "A parasite. It entered his body when he was young. We do not know how, we do not know where it came from. All we know is that it feeds on him, slowly, painfully. Our medicine cannot stop it. Our science cannot remove it. We have tried everything." "Everything." "Everything," Queen confirmed. "For 87 years, the greatest minds of my empire have worked to save my son. They have failed. Every treatment, every approach. Nothing works. The parasite adapts. It survives. It continues to feed." She paused. Her voice became quieter. "6 months ago, my scientists told me there was nothing more they could do. They told me to prepare for my son's death, and for the death of my empire." Ho felt the weight of her words pressing down on him. This was not just about one sick prince. This was about billions of lives, an entire civilization hanging by a thread. "Why me?" he asked. "Why a human? Surely there are other species with advanced medicine, species more developed than us." "We have contacted them, we have begged them, they cannot help. Their medicine is not like yours." The Queen's eyes seemed to burn into him. "You humans are unique, Ho. You evolved on a death world, a planet that tried to kill you in every possible way. Your bodies are battlegrounds, your immune systems are weapons. Your healers have learned to fight enemies that other species have never even seen." "We are not that special," Ho said. "You are wrong. I have studied your medical history, the diseases you have conquered, the parasites you have defeated, the solutions you have found through what you call trial and error. No other species thinks the way humans think. No other species fights the way humans fight. When other species face an enemy they cannot defeat, they accept death. Humans refuse." She leaned forward. "I need someone who refuses to accept death. I need a human." Ho was silent for a long moment. He thought about Ambassador's warning, "Do not agree to anything without talking to me first." This was exactly the kind of situation she had been worried about. But he also thought about something else. He thought about all the soldiers he had treated on battlefields, the ones he had saved, the ones he had lost. He thought about the promise he had made to himself long ago, never turn away from someone who needs help. "What do you offer in return?" he asked, not because he wanted payment but because he needed to understand. "Anything?" The Queen's response was immediate. "Technology beyond anything your species has ever seen, territory, resources, a formal alliance with my empire, protection for your people for as long as they exist. And if I fail, then my son dies, my empire falls, and your species will have lost nothing because you would have had nothing either way." It was honest, brutally honest. Ho appreciated that. "There is one more thing I can offer," the Queen continued. Her voice changed, something in it broke. "I will kneel before you, human, if you ask it. The Queen of the Empire will kneel before a primitive human medic if that is what you require." Ho stared at her. He saw past the massive body, the ancient eyes, the power and the majesty. He saw what was underneath. A mother terrified of losing her child. "I don't want you to kneel," he said quietly. "I don't want your technology or your territory. I don't want anything." The Queen's confusion was clear. "Then what do you want?" "I want to see my patient." Made a sound that might have been surprise. The Queen was absolutely still. "You ask for nothing," she said. "Where I come from, healers don't bargain with dying children. You brought me here to help your son, so let me try to help your son, that's all." The silence stretched for a long time. Ho could feel the Queen studying him, searching for the trick, the hidden angle, the secret demand. She found nothing because there was nothing to find. "You are strange," she finally said, "even for a human." "I've been told that before." Something changed in the Queen's posture. The desperation remained, but now there was something else mixed with it, something that looked almost like hope. "Come," she said, "I will take you to my son myself." Ho followed the Queen through corridors that no outsider had ever walked, came behind them silent and watchful. The passages here were different from the public areas, more personal. On the walls, Ho saw images carved into the shell material. They showed scenes from history, wars, victories, ceremonies. And there were smaller images too, a smaller playing, learning, growing. Prince, Ho realized. The Queen had decorated these halls with memories of her son. They reached a door guarded by soldiers. The Queen waved them aside with a gesture. The door opened. Inside was a chamber filled with medical equipment. Some of it Ho recognized as similar to human technology. Most of it he had never seen before. Lights blinked. Machines hummed. The air smelled of chemicals and something else, something sick. On a bed in the center of the room lay Prince. He was young by standards, smaller than the adults Ho had seen. His shell was cracked and discolored, patches of gray spreading across what should have been healthy black. His eyes were closed. His breathing was shallow and uneven. Tubes and wires connected him to the machines around him. Monitors showed readings that Ho could not understand, but he did not need to understand them to know they were bad. The queen stood beside her son's bed. Her massive body seemed smaller somehow. Her eyes never left his face. 87 years, she whispered. I have watched him suffer for 87 years. I have held his hand through pain that no child should ever feel. I have told him stories to help him sleep. I have promised him that everything would be fine, even when I knew it was a lie. She turned to Ho. Can you save him, human? Tell me the truth. I have heard enough lies. Ho stepped closer to the bed. He looked at the young prince, at the readings on the machines, at the damage visible on his shell. He thought about everything he knew about parasites, about alien biology, about the limits of medicine. I don't know, he said honestly. I need to examine him. I need to understand what I'm dealing with. I need my equipment and I need your scientists to work with me, not just watch me. You will have everything you need. Ho nodded. He looked down at the dying prince, at the mother standing beside him, at the weight of an empire resting on this single fragile life. Then I'll do everything I can. That's all I can promise. The queen reached out with one limb and touched her son's face gently. It was such a simple gesture, such a human gesture. That is more than anyone else has promised me in 87 years, she said. The medical equipment from the horizon's edge arrived 2 days later. Along with it came a message from Ambassador. The entire galaxy is watching. Do not fail. No pressure, Ho thought. The queen had given him a laboratory next to Prince's chamber. It was filled with scientists, the best in the empire, all assigned to help him, or to watch him. Ho was not sure which. The lead scientist was named. He was older than the others, his shell marked with symbols that showed his high rank. From the moment they met, made his feelings clear. I have studied medicine for 300 years, said. I have led research teams that have cured diseases across the empire. I do not understand why we need help from a species that was living in caves when we were building starships. I don't understand either, Ho admitted. But your queen asked me to come, so I'm here. The queen is desperate. Desperation makes people do foolish things. Ho did not argue. He simply started working. The first step was understanding the enemy. Ho spent hours studying scans of the parasite inside its body. It was unlike anything he had seen before. A tiny organism, almost invisible, that had wrapped itself around the prince's vital organs. It fed slowly, carefully, never taking enough to kill quickly, just enough to weaken, to drain. It's smart, Ho said quietly. Heard him what? The parasite. It's not just surviving, it's farming him, taking only what it needs, keeping him alive so it can keep feeding. I've seen parasites do this before, but never this precisely. We know this. We have known this for decades. Understanding the problem is not the same as solving it. Ho continued his examination. He requested samples. He ran tests using both human and equipment. He asked questions that the scientists found strange or stupid. Why did the parasite enter here and not there? What triggered its feeding cycles? How did it respond to different types of stress? 3 days passed. Ho barely slept. He worked and studied and thought. The scientists grew impatient with his methods. You are wasting time, said on the 4th day. We have already tried direct attacks on the parasite. We have tried poisons. We have tried radiation. Nothing works. Because the parasite knows you, Ho said. What do you mean? Ho pulled up a display showing the history of treatments. Every time you attacked it, the parasite adapted. It learned your methods. It developed defenses. You've been fighting this thing for 87 years, and every fight just taught it how to survive. Then what do you suggest? We should simply do nothing. I suggest we stop fighting the way you've been fighting. Ho looked at the data again. Let me ask you something. Has any ever survived this type of infection? Was silent. Anyone in your entire history? No, once infected, death is certain. It is only a matter of time. Ho nodded slowly. An idea was forming in his mind. That's because the parasite evolved alongside your species. It knows biology perfectly. Every defense you have, it already knows how to beat. That's why your medicine doesn't work. You're fighting an enemy that understands you completely. And you think human medicine will be different. I think human medicine is something this parasite has never seen. He explained his theory. Humans evolved on Earth, a planet filled with dangers. Their immune systems developed in ways that were unique in the galaxy. Aggressive, adaptable, chaotic. What if we introduce human immune responses into system, not replacing his immune system, but teaching it, showing his body new ways to fight? Stared at him. That has never been done. The risk would be enormous. You could kill him faster than the parasite would. He's dying anyway. You told me yourself nothing else has worked. You want to experiment on the Prince of the Empire with untested human medicine. I want to give him a chance. The argument lasted for hours, brought in other scientists who agreed with him. This was too dangerous, too uncertain, too human. But Ho did not give up. He showed them his research. He explained the science as clearly as he could. He answered every question, addressed every concern. In the end, the decision went to the Queen. Listened to both sides, argued against the treatment with passion and logic. Ho simply presented the facts and his best guess at what might work. When they finished, the Queen was silent for a long time. You are asking me to risk my son's life on a treatment that might kill him, she finally said to Ho. Yes. A treatment that has never been tested. Yes. Created by a species that your own scientist calls primitive and foolish. Ho glanced at who had the grace to look uncomfortable. Yes. And you believe this will work? I believe it might work. I believe doing nothing will definitely fail. I believe this is the best chance your son has. The Queen turned to look at, sleeping in his bed, machines keeping him alive moment by moment. Do it, she said. Started to protest, silenced him with a gesture. Do it, human, save my son. The treatment took hours to prepare. Ho worked with the scientists, explaining every step, making sure they understood what he was doing. Most of them still thought he was wrong, but they followed his instructions. When everything was ready, they began. The first injection went into his body. Ho watched the monitors closely. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the readings went crazy. His vital signs spiked. His body temperature shot up. His heart rate doubled. Alarms started screaming from every machine in the room. It's killing him, shouted. Stop the treatment. No, Ho's voice was calm. He had seen this before, not with aliens but with humans. This was what fighting looked like. This is his immune system activating. It's supposed to happen. His body is destroying itself. His body is learning. The minutes passed like hours. Ho made adjustments, changed dosages, monitored every reading. Sweat ran down his face. His hands stayed steady. The Queen stood by her son's bed, watching. She said nothing. Her eyes never left his face. 2 hours in, the readings began to stabilize. The fever dropped. The heart rate slowed. The alarms went quiet one by one. 3 hours in, something changed on the deep scans. The parasite was still there, but it was smaller, weaker. It's working, Ho breathed. Checked the readings himself. He checked them twice. His expression shifted from disbelief to something that looked almost like wonder. The parasite is retreating, he said. The prince's body is fighting it. 4 hours in, his eyes opened for the first time in weeks. He looked up at his mother standing beside him. His voice was weak, barely a whisper, but everyone in the room heard it. Mother, Queen made a sound that needed no translation. It was a sob of pure relief. Ho stepped back, suddenly exhausted. The treatment was not finished. There would be more work to do, more adjustments to make. But for the first time in 87 years, the Prince of the Empire was getting better instead of worse. He felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find standing beside him. "I was wrong about humans," said quietly. "I was wrong about you." Ho smiled tiredly. "Just doing my job." "No, what you did was more than that." Looked at the scene before them, the Queen holding her son's hand, the monitors showing improving readings. "What you did was impossible, and you did it anyway." "That's what humans do," Ho said. "We do impossible things because someone has to." 3 weeks passed on the. Ho stayed to monitor Prince's recovery and adjust the treatment as needed. Each day brought improvement. The parasite was not dead, but it was suppressed. His body had learned to fight it, using techniques borrowed from human biology. The prince was sitting up now, eating on his own, speaking in full sentences. The cracks in his shell were healing. Color was returning to his body. Outside the medical chamber, the effects spread through the entire planet. The stopped stumbling. Their coordination returned. The hive connection strengthened as its future center grew stronger. Ho was checking the morning readings when came to see him. The old scientist had changed over the past weeks. The coldness was gone. Something else had taken its place. "I owe you an apology," said. "You already apologized." "Not properly, not completely." Sat down across from Ho. "When you first arrived, I believed you were wasting our time. I believed your species was too primitive to help us. I believed that 300 years of science must be superior to anything humans could offer." "That's understandable. I probably would have thought the same thing in your position. But I was wrong, not just about the treatment but about everything." Leaned forward. "We value order, structure. We believe that progress comes from careful planning and perfect execution. We look at humans and see chaos. No central mind, no unified purpose, just billions of individuals running in different directions." "That's a fair description. But that chaos is your strength. You think in ways we cannot. You try things we would never consider. You fail and fail and fail, and then you succeed in ways that should be impossible." Shook his head slowly. "We have been wrong about humans. The entire galaxy has been wrong about humans." "We're not special," Ho said. "We're just different. Different enough to save an empire. Different enough to do what 300 years of science could not." Stood up. "I am old, Ho. I will not live much longer, but I hope to spend my remaining years teaching others what you have taught me. That sometimes the answer does not come from perfect order. Sometimes it comes from chaos." He bowed, a gesture Ho had never seen him make to a human. "Thank you for my prince, for my people, for my empire." After left, a messenger arrived. The Queen wished to see Ho, not in the throne room but in a private place. Ho followed the messenger through corridors he had not seen before. They led to a garden, if it could be called that. Alien plants grew in strange patterns. Lights floated in the air like living things. A small stream flowed through the center, its water glowing softly blue. Queen stood beside the stream. Without her throne, without her courtiers, she seemed smaller, more real. "This place has been mine for 10,000 years, she said as Ho approached. "I have not visited it in centuries. There was no time, no reason." She turned to face him. "Today, I wanted to remember what peace feels like. Your son is doing well. The readings this morning were the best yet." "I know. I feel his strength returning through our connection. It is like watching the sun rise after endless night." They stood in silence for a moment. The garden was beautiful in a way that Ho could not fully describe. Alien, but somehow also familiar. "I asked you once what you wanted in return for your help," the Queen said. "You asked for nothing. I did not understand that. I still do not fully understand it, but I accept it. I didn't come here for rewards. I know, that is what makes you different from everyone else who has ever stood before me. She moved closer. But I cannot let you leave with nothing. Not because I must pay a debt, but because I want to give you something. Will you accept a gift freely given? Ho hesitated. What kind of gift? Knowledge. We have studied your species for many years, but always from a distance, always with suspicion. We saw you as threats, as competitors, as infections to be contained. She paused. We were wrong, I was wrong. Your Majesty, let me finish. I have ruled for 10,000 years. I have made mistakes, many mistakes, but I have also learned to recognize when I am wrong and to change. Her eyes met his. I want to change how my people see humanity, not as primitives to be ignored, but as partners to be respected. That would mean a lot to my people. It is only the beginning. I am also opening our medical archives to human researchers. The knowledge that saved my son should be shared. Your healers and our scientists working together could accomplish things neither could do alone. That's very generous. It is practical and it is right. The Queen was quiet for a moment. You asked me once why I chose you, a simple medic from a primitive species. Do you want to know the real answer? Yes. I chose you because of a report I read about something you did 7 years ago. A battle on a human colony world. Your forces were retreating. There was a field hospital filled with wounded soldiers who could not be moved. You had orders to evacuate. Ho went still. He knew which battle she meant. He had tried not to think about it for years. You refused to leave. You stayed with your patients while enemy forces surrounded the hospital. For 3 days you kept them alive, treated their wounds, and protected them until reinforcements arrived. 47 soldiers survived because of you. 32 died, Ho said quietly. I remember every name. But 47 lived, because one human refused to abandon people who needed him. The Queen's voice was gentle now. That is why I called for you, not because of your species, not because of your medicine, because of who you are, because I needed someone who would refuse to give up on my son, no matter how hopeless it seemed. Ho did not know what to say. He felt the weight of 7 years of guilt pressing on his chest. The faces of the ones he lost still haunted his dreams. You carry pain, the Queen said. I see it in you, the weight of those you could not save. Yes, I understand that weight. I have carried it for 10,000 years, every war, every disaster, every child of my empire who died while I could do nothing. She reached out and placed a limb gently on his shoulder. But I have learned something in all those years. The ones we could not save do not want us to suffer. They want us to keep trying, to keep fighting, to save the ones we still can. I try to remember that. Then remember something else. Because of you, my son lives. Because of you, my empire survives. Because of you, billions of people will have a future. That matters, Ho. That matters more than any failure. 2 days later, Ho stood in the docking bay of the, preparing to board a shuttle back to the horizon's edge. Was there to see him off. So was. So were dozens of other who had worked with him over the past weeks. And so was Prince. The young prince was still weak. He walked slowly, supported by attendants, but he was walking, he was alive. Thank you, said. His voice was stronger than it had been. My mother told me what you did. She told me you asked for nothing. I did my job. No, you did more than that, straightened, standing as tall as he could. When I take my mother's place someday, I will remember this. I will remember that a human came to us with nothing but his skills and his willingness to help, and I will make sure my people remember too. The shuttle lifted off. Ho watched the fall away through the window. He thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the doubt, the long hours of work, the moment when opened his eyes. He thought about what would say when he got back. He thought about Dong, who had probably spent 3 weeks worrying. He thought about the message that would be sent to Earth, telling humanity that their relationship with the Empire had changed forever. But mostly, He thought about a mother who loved her son, about a child who had suffered for nearly a century, about the simple truth that some things mattered more than politics or power. When the shuttle docked with the horizon's edge, and Dong were waiting. Well, demanded, what happened? What did they want? Ho smiled tiredly. I met a mother who was scared for her child, so I helped. Dong stared at him. That's it, that's all you're going to say. What else is there to say? Later that day, a message arrived from the Empire. It was addressed not to the government of Earth, not to the diplomatic corps, not to any official body. It was addressed simply to the people of Earth. Read it out loud on the bridge. Every crew member listened in silence. The message was short. It contained only a single word in the human language, a word that had never used before in any official communication. Friends. Ho stood at the viewport watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the turned slowly in space. Somewhere out there, a prince was recovering and a queen was rebuilding her hope. Somewhere out there, two species that had been strangers were becoming something more. Not through war, not through threats, not through politics or treaties. Through kindness, through skill, through the simple choice to help someone who needed it. Ho thought about what came next. More work, more challenges, more chances to make a difference. He was ready.